Welcome to the On-Demand Report video series. This report is on the Student Data Summary. So the Student Data Summary reports some summary results for each school district in your site. Along with it also reports some individual student data as well. And it also contains a chart that shows the distribution of the OS total score. And specific, it's trying to show how your students change from fall to year-end compared to the national random sample. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example report. So here we go. Here is a sample of the student data summary. Before we get into the design of the report, let me tell you that there is one page for each school district in your site. So you will notice up here in our example, we are on page 6 of 17. This site has 17 school districts on it. We are just on the 6th one in this site, and we can move back and forth by clicking these right and left buttons to move back and forth between the different school districts. Now, you can also look at student data summaries from many years in your site. So all you have to do is click on a year. Once you've selected a year, you just click on the View Report button, and that will cause the page to update, and it will use the data from that school year. So it's a great multi-year report as well. Now, let's talk about the design of the report. We're going to start at the top in this dark blue section. So you will see the name of the school district up here. And then over to the right are just some basic summary facts about that school district. How many reading recovery kids they have, how many DLL children they have, how many literacy lessons children they have, how many teachers are currently active, and how many schools are active in that school district. So basic school district summary information. Now, we're going to skip over the chart for right now. We're going to come down here, and you'll notice that we kind of have this beigeish area, and this has the name of a school in it. So each beige line indicates where the data for a school starts. And then just below that, we have these, you see these two blue areas. These are teacher information. So the names of our teachers are right here. And then for each teacher, we show some basic summary, reading recovery summary results, and some literacy lessons summary results. In this example, we see that this teacher has 4 slots available. Right now has a 50% discontinuing rate, and on average does about 3.8 lessons per week. She doesn't work with any literacy lesson students, so nothing is populated in there. Then under each teacher is data for this teacher's students. You can see in this one, it's reporting on reading recovery kids and also some tested not instructed reading recovery children. And for our reading recovery kids, it lets us know how many lessons they got, how many weeks they were in reading recovery, how many missed lessons they had, how many lessons per week that they got, and then it reports their text reading level for fall, entry, exit, and year end. And then finally, their intervention status is reported right over here. So there you go. That's some of the talk about the data that's in this report. Now I'm going to quickly tell you about these color markings that you see on some of these students, these pink and some of these purplish blue markings that highlightings that you see right here. So I'm going to start with what the pink highlighting means. So what our system has done is it's gone through and it's looked at the fall data for the student. And we've looked at their data, and we think based on their fall data that this student might require more support, more watching to have a discontinued program. So we think they might be a little harder to work with and will require a little more support to get them up to discontinued. Now the purpley markings, like down here for these two students, once again, our system has looked at the students' fall data, and we actually think that the child will make pretty good progress on their own, probably getting to text level 16 by year end without much interaction with the reading recovery teacher. So in a sense, children probably needing more support, these little pinkish ones, and the purplish bluish ones here, children not needing quite as much support. So there you go, a little description of the markings on there. Now let's come up to our OS total score chart, and we're going to look at that here. So like I said earlier in the description, what this chart is showing is the distribution of the children on the OS total score at 2 times during the school year. And we're looking at 2 different populations of children. One, we're looking at the children in the school district, and then also we're plotting the national random sample and how they are distributed. So let's quickly break down this chart and what it's trying to tell us. So I'm going to first talk about these two gray lines that you see in here, these lines in this chart. And this is data for the national random sample. So this first one right here is showing us how the national random sample distributed on the OS total score in the fall. Where did they start in the fall? The higher the line goes, the more children in the random sample that got that particular score. Then this second line tells us in the random sample, once again, this is the year-end distribution of the children on the OS total score. And once again, the higher the line goes, the more children got that particular score. So now in reading recovery, what we would like to see is our kids, you know, they will probably start down here, and we'd like to see our reading recovery kids kind of move up into average when they get to the year end. So we want to see that change over time. So this is what we're trying to show. And we're trying to show that with these green lines, and these are actually bars. It's a bar chart plotted on there, but the bars are so thin they look like lines. And these blue lines as well, these blue bars. So the green bars are showing how the kids in the school district distributed in the fall on the OS total score. So the taller the bar, the more kids that got that particular score. And it looks like about, you know, we've got a kind of a wide distribution here. More kids scored down here in the bottom. I'm wondering if these kind of outliers out here are actually these two children at the bottom. They had a pretty high text reading level at the beginning of the school year. But we can see that I think the majority of our green lines are down here, and that's kind of what we expect, that our reading recovery kids are the struggling readers, and they will be down in this lower 20% when it comes to the national random sample. So now the blue lines are where your children distributed at the end of the school year. And so that's why they're up here. And we kind of seen that our kids have moved from clustering down here to now they're clustering sort of right in the center. Now we certainly have an outlier out here. That's a blue line right there. But we can see in general we've moved from the back side of this line into the center, and now they've become, you know, more like the average student, which is like what we want to see. We've had more kids get this particular score on the observation or on the OS total score because the bar is just a little higher. And then finally, the last component of this chart are these two things, the square and the X's that you're seeing. And the square just represents the averages of the national random sample. This one in particular is what is the average OS total score in the fall, and what is the average OS total score at the end of the school year. And then the X ones are your school district's average. So here it is right here, and then at the end of the school year, it's just underneath the square. So we see that we've closed that gap a little bit, that the average sort of confirms what we're sort of visually seeing with lines. So what can we use the student data summary for? Well, we can obviously use it for personal use, you know, for a quick lookup of some summary statistics, but it also might be a helpful thing to go into meetings with administrators, especially if it's kind of last minute meetings and you don't have a chance to prepare any information. This can be a good report to just print off and take with you and bring into meetings and be able to talk a little data. It is not to be used in a public forum as it contains teacher and student names and results. So please do not use this report in a public forum.